With every college football regular season ending, there are bound to be at least a few candidates for that year's Heisman Award, or the award for the top player in college football. However, this year's candidates seem to be the closest they've been in years. These four finalists are Miami quarterback Cam Ward, Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel, Colorado corner and wide receiver Travis Hunter, and Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. Although there are four finalists, this award really comes down to two players, those being the latter two, Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. In this video, we'll be going over a little bit of context for each player's season, their stats in each season prior and this year, their achievements, and ultimately who I believe and who I would vote for, and who I think will win it and should win it. First, we'll start with Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Cam Ward began his college career in 2021 at Incarnate Word, an FCS school. In his freshman season, Ward threw for 4,600 yards and 47 touchdowns, and received second-team All-FCS honors, also being named the Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Following this year, Ward decided to leave Incarnate Word and transfer to FBS University, Washington State. As a sophomore, Ward won the starting job for the Washington State Cougars and threw for over 3,200 yards and 23 touchdowns. He also added 5 rushing touchdowns as well. In Ward's junior season, although the team's performance declined, missing a bowl game, Ward's performance elevated. Ward threw for 3,700 yards and 25 touchdowns, while only throwing 7 interceptions. Entering his senior season on December 1st, 2023, Ward decided to enter the transfer portal as well as to put his name in the NFL draft. Soon after, however, Ward rescinded his name from the NFL draft and announced he had committed to the University of Miami, Florida. In his senior season, which is current day, Ward passed for over 4,100 yards and an FBS leading 36 passing touchdowns, leading the Miami Hurricanes to a 10-2 record, finishing third in the ACC, just one game out of the ACC championship. This senior season performance has led Cam Ward to being one of the 4 Heisman finalists today and leads to many NFL fans hoping Ward lands with their franchise in the upcoming draft. Next, we'll move to Oregon starting quarterback Dillon Gabriel. Gabriel is a college football veteran, with his freshman season being in 2019. Gabriel entered his freshman season at UCF as a backup to then starter Brandon Wimbish, but Gabriel won the starting job just one game into the season. In the final 12 games of that year, Gabriel threw for over 3,600 yards and 29 touchdowns while only throwing 7 interceptions. Gabriel's sophomore season was the COVID season in 2020. In just those 10 games, Gabriel threw for 3,570 yards and 32 touchdowns, which is still a career high up today. Going into Gabriel's junior season, the hype was real for the Knights of UCF. However, this hype collapsed on the final play of the third game, in which Dillon Gabriel suffered a broken cleft clavicle, ending his season. On November 27, 2021, Gabriel announced he would be transferring away from UCF. In that offseason, Gabriel initially committed to play for the UCLA Bruins. However, just a few weeks later, he decommitted from UCLA and committed to the University of Oklahoma. Gabriel played 2 seasons for the Sooners, throwing for 3,168 yards and 25 touchdowns in the first, and 3,660 yards and 30 touchdowns in the second. Following the second season, Gabriel once again announced he would be transferring. This time, however, Gabriel committed and stayed to the University of Oregon. This leads us to the current season, which Oregon is the lone undefeated team in the nation, standing at 13-0 after winning the Big Ten championship against Penn State, and are now positioned at the top spot of the college football playoffs. This season, Gabriel threw for 3,558 yards and 28 touchdowns. Now, before we move into the 2 major candidates for the Heisman Award, with each of those 2 players receiving a bigger deep dive into their season's award accolades and history, I would like to first address any chance of bias I could have in any statement throughout. I am personally a fan of the University of Kansas, with this season being the first time I've truly been able to tune in and be in depth with the season of college football, not just KU. Due to my fandom, I don't really have a direct liking or disliking for any player on the list. The only person that could be considered is Travis Hunter, but I was able to watch his game. My team won and he played well, so I got a good look at him while also not disliking the guy because my team lost. However, I wanted to make you guys aware of my bias, just in case that changes how you think of this video or anything. I don't want to not allow you to know my bias. Now, for real this time, let's talk about Let's start with two-way superstar Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter finished high school as a top 2 recruit in his class ranked by ESPN and the top recruit by 24/7 Rivals. Hunter originally committed to Florida State University on March 3, 2020, just one day after his official visit. However, almost 2 years later on December 15, 2021, Hunter flipped his commitment to Jackson State University, which at the time was coached by NFL legend Deion Sanders. Hunter was the first 5-star player to sign with an FCS program. Travis Hunter started his freshman season slow, registering 0 stats in week 1 and then suffering an injury that kept him out for the next 5 weeks. Overall in his freshman season, he finished with 188 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 19 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 1 defensive touchdown. Yes, you did hear me correctly. Hunter plays both sides of the ball and excels. After Hunter's freshman season, head coach Deion Sanders left Jackson State to become the new head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes. Of course, Hunter ended up following Deion to Colorado. At Colorado, Hunter continued his two-way abilities. However, he just got better. In week 1, which was seen as the first true test to not only Deion's coaching ability, but Travis Hunter's and quarterback Shedeur Sanders' skill set, as they would be facing the defending runner-up TCU, Hunter wowed with a diving interception, along with 11 receptions for 119 yards. Hunter was injured in a Week 3 win against in-state rival Colorado State and was out for the next 3 games, but other than that, he has not missed a game since. Hunter's season stats for his sophomore season were 57 receptions for 721 yards and 5 touchdowns, along with 3 interceptions and 30 tackles. However, the one stat that many were arguing at the time was the snap counts and whether or not they could be sustainable for an entire season or his career after. Following the disappointing 2023 season for the Buffaloes, the team reloaded and was set on the following season, in which they would be moving from the Pac-12 to the Big 12. During the season, which is in his junior season, and where we are today, Hunter once again just flat out wowed. In the first game of the season, against FCS juggernaut North Dakota State, Hunter recorded 7 receptions for 132 yards and 3 touchdowns. Hunter kept up the production throughout the season, with Heisman hype continuously growing throughout the year. After the regular season, Hunter was awarded the Lott Trophy, which is given to the defensive player based on their personal character and athletic abilities. Along with that, Hunter was presented the Biletnikoff Trophy, which was the best wide receiver in the nation, and the Paul Hornung Award, which is given to recognize versatile college athletes. Along with this, Hunter was first team All-Big 12 and Big 12 for Defensive Player of the Year, along with being a finalist for National Defensive Player of the Year. In his senior season, so far, Hunter's recorded 92 receptions for 1,152 yards and 14 touchdowns, along with 21 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. Along with this, making history, Travis Hunter is the first player in Big 12 history to earn first-team honors on both the offensive and the defensive sides of the ball. Finally, we will dive into Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty started his career at Boise State, just as where he will finish it at. In this freshman season, he split carries with George Holani. Jeanty played in all 14 games, started in 2 of them, and ended the year with 821 yards and 7 touchdowns on 156 carries. In the Broncos bowl game, Jeanty finished with 178 yards and a touchdown. Returning to Boise State in his sophomore season, Jeanty saw himself easily win the starting job. However, he still shared some rushing attempts with Holani. Jeanty finished the season with 1,347 rushing yards and 14 touchdowns. Along with rushing, Jeanty finished with 569 receiving yards, which was the second highest on Boise State as a whole, and led all running backs in the country. Jeanty was second in the country in scrimmage yards. At the end of the season, Jeanty was named Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. Jeanty returned once again for his junior season at Boise State, something that in the NIL and transfer portal era is quite unheard for a player of his caliber at a school that isn't a Power 5 school like Boise State. Opening the junior season, Jeanty broke a Boise State team record by rushing for 267 yards, along with finishing with 6 rushing touchdowns, which tied the Mountain West Conference record. Jeanty and Boise State continued to impress throughout the season, only losing 1 game at Oregon. Boise State eventually won the Mountain West Conference Championship against UNLV and received the 3rd first-round bye in the college football playoff. Jeanty's stats for this junior season was 2,497 yards, rushing yards and 29 touchdowns on 344 carries, along with 20 receptions for 116 yards and a touchdown. Now at the end of the regular season, Jeanty was given Offensive MVP in the Mountain West Conference Championship game, was named First Team All-Mountain West, and was named Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. With each player having their own case for the Heisman, the race ultimately comes down to Ashton Jeanty and Travis Hunter. One stat for each player that is being heavily discussed is snaps for Travis Hunter and carries for Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty supporters say that snaps are not stats, saying that Hunter really shouldn't get credit for just playing more often. Hunter supporters often bring up the high number of carries Jeanty has, and that if he had not had as many carries, he wouldn't have had the stats he had. Along with this, they also say he hasn't played much competition. The Mountain West is known to be a worse conference in the Big 12. However, overall, I believe, personally, Ashton Jeanty should win the Heisman, and that in a fictional world where I was able to vote, which I know is not going to happen, I would absolutely have Ashton Jeanty's name written on the ballot. Jeanty has been the first and second option for the Boise State offense, who is now 3 wins away from winning a national championship. Jeanty has a good chance to break the all-time rushing yards record for a season that is held by Barry Sanders, a record that stood for decades. Jeanty has helped a group of 5 school not only make the college football playoff, but also receive a bye. Meanwhile, Travis Hunter and Colorado are stuck playing in a meaningless regular bowl game. Not to discredit Hunter's 2A ability, but Jeanty's ability to carry Boise State's offense should give him the award. However, once the votes are counted, I absolutely predict tomorrow night Travis Hunter will win the Heisman. I would like to thank everyone who watched this video and made it to even the ending of this video, or if you skipped ahead. I thank you no matter what for clicking on the video. I do ask if you enjoyed the video to please consider liking and subscribing. I have links in the description to my gaming channel, which I will start back up soon if you're into gaming, and to my podcast channel, which if you're into sports, I would encourage that more. We've taken a little break on the podcast, but we'll be back to it soon. School, we had finals, so we were kind of like focused on that. So I encourage you, if you really enjoy sports, click on that, check out some of the old podcasts, and we'll be back soon. And I also wanted to give out a non-sponsored shout out to the sports app Reel. I would love to be sponsored, but I'm not going to be. But the app is that's what really helped me get into college football. So if you want to get into a new sport, I think Reel's the way to go. They basically have every real sport, like major sport. But yeah, I want to thank everyone who watched, and hopefully I see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.